Okay, welcome back. So now we're going to have a look at amplitude modulation, which is sometimes called ring modulation. Ring piece modulation came sweeping all across the nation. So we're going to use Albino to look at this because it's got this, it's very clearly laid out and it has these two oscillators here so we can see what's going on. Amplitude modulation is exactly what it says. It's a modulation, a movement of the amplitude of a frequency. So you need two oscillators to do it. To give you a demonstration, let's take this oscillator here, oscillator 2, and it sounds like this. It's got this spectral oscillator in there. Just a raw waveform. Now, amplitude modulation is modulating the amplitude. So let's have a look over here. LFO1 I've set up, as you can see, to modulate amplitude. So it's similar to frequency modulation, except it just modulates the amplitude. So turn the amount up here. And if I hold down a note, you can tell it's modulating the amplitude. Let's have a look at the LFO that's doing that. It's set to a sine wave. And if I turn the speed up, you can hear it's simply modulating how loud and quiet the second oscillator is. So that is amplitude modulation. And that's what it sounds like. To give you a clearer idea, put it on a square wave with the maximum amount. You can hear it's functioning like a gate, allowing sound through, then stopping it completely. So if I turn the frequency of that up. So that's the principle of amplitude modulation. If we turn that off, and then we go back to this oscillator, we want to use this oscillator to modulate this oscillator. So we turn it on. I've set it to a sine wave, and we switch it to AM here. And then this volume knob becomes the amount, the same as it was with FM. Now the difference with using an oscillator is twofold. One, it reaches into the audio range, and two, we can track the keyboard with it. So it gets faster as we go up the keyboard. Now, in my view, ring modulation doesn't have a whole lot of application for lead sounds. You can get some good stuff out of it, but it's probably better used for pad sounds, special effects, bell sounds, etc. But I thought I'd cover it anyway. Let's make it sound a bit nicer by putting some reverb on. Bit of chorus. Turn the release up. And you can hear that it's... And as you can hear, the sounds become enharmonic. Enharmonic is when the harmonics in the sound are not related to each other or to the fundamental. So I've turned the octave switch and the semitone switch up. So you can get all that clanging stuff, and also if you take it down, you can get more of a vibrato. So that's Albino. Let's have a look at Vanguard. Well, in Vanguard it's pretty limited. You just have this one oscillator here called sine AM, amplitude modulation, that you can use for any kind of amplitude mod. So it sounds like this. Just a sine wave. And if we set the speed to 0 on LFO1, then PWM, pulse width modulation, becomes our control for amplitude mod. A lot of zipper noise if you do it manually, as you probably noticed. So tweaking it by hand's out of the question, so maybe best to do it with an envelope. What about this one here? That's one way we could do it. So that's what you get with Vanguard. If we turn the envelope to 0, we could do it with an LFO. It's another way to modulate it. So pretty limited ring modulation options from Vanguard. Now, what about Zebra? Here's Zebra. As you can see, I've got two oscillators. In Zebra, you have to put in a ring modulation module that I've just switched on. So, oscillator 2 is muted, and just the output's going into one side of the ring mod, and oscillator 1 is being ring modulated. Sounds like that. And this is oscillator 2 here, so if we play with the pitch, so great for special effects. How about an envelope? Put envelope 2 in there so it can modulate it automatically. Often when doing ring mod, it's best to keep the oscillators as quite harmonically dull. If you have listened to the difference, I'll just make oscillator 1, which is being modulated, into more of a sine wave. Let's try modulating the tune with an LFO. To make it sound a bit nicer, let's put this one to dual, turn the tuning so it's more in stereo, and let's put a different sample and hold LFO. Here you can see. That's quite nice. Let's try a different oscillator in the modulated oscillator. What about this sine tree? Nice, pretty trippy. So ring modulation, perhaps limited application for lead sounds, but fantastic for special effects and clangy enharmonic sounds, percussive sounds, particularly bell sounds. But having said that, let's see if I can coax something half decent out of this sound that I have here. Now this is your modulator wave and your carrier wave. Both going into this little unit here, and this is doing its modulating upon this in that little black box. Right, so all that's going on is this is the modulator wave here. And it's tuned to a kind of very fast tremolo, really. And I've set this oscillator to dual, single that sounds like this. Just to stereoify it a bit. And I've got a part in the sequence here. I have a filter here, a high pass filter. I'm going to turn it on. I'll see what I can make of it. Bit of delay. I got it now. So with a bit of tweaking, we could make that into a part that would fit into a track very nicely. What else do we have in the realm of special effects? Here's something I made earlier. So lots of fun can be had with that ring mod for special effects.